Hi, this is Boone, Slot Car Garage. Let's do this. Hi, I'm Boone, and this is Boone Slot Car Garage. And tonight we're going to go ahead and we're going to build ourselves a second Brandshatch leaderboard. Yes, a second one. So the first one was this one right here, but this one's not going on Deception Raceways. In fact, this one's getting shipped back to North Carolina to Kevin at Racetrack Scenics. But it's such a cool kit, I want to build one for Deception. But obviously, I'm not going to build it the same way. So this one is going to be another kit from Racetrack Scenics, Brandshatch Leaderboard, which is really cool. But we're going to throw a little bit of a twist in it. I got to give it kind of that Deception Raceways twist, right? So, saying all that, I think it's time that we grab ourselves a cup of joe and a donut, and let's do this. Okay, so here we go. Let's go ahead and get started on this. Now, the last time we saw this kit is when on the previous video, part one, where I made the other leaderboard, I had everything, pressed out and whatnot, and I was going to go ahead and build both of these kits on the same video. Well, I didn't think this through. For one thing, it would be a monster video to go ahead and build two of these on the same video. And number two, as I was building the other leaderboard, I was thinking of different ways of what I could do to a second one to change it up from the first one. And there were some ideas that were floating around my head, but I still needed to kind of work them out a little bit more. So it was kind of like X-nay on building both of them at the same time. Boone, let's go ahead and build them on two different videos and we can get this figured out. So here we go. Last time we saw this video or this kit, it was getting ready to be primed. Now, I'm X-naying on the prime A, which means I'm not going to prime this kit. And I want it to be more of a weathered look. The first one, we did a lot of weathering. This one, I kind of want it to look like, well, if you go and you go to like on the web and stuff like that, you can look up abandoned racetracks. And a lot of times they'll have structures that are still there and they're just kind of like, some of those pieces, iconic pieces that time forgot. And I kind of want to go ahead and incorporate that into this kit. So it's going to have some pretty extreme weathering. And one of the reasons why I do not want to prime it is because I want it to have kind of that blotchiness and really uneven look to the paint. I don't want it to be crisp or anything else. So we're not going to prime it, but we need to go ahead and prep this thing so that we can go ahead and just paint it, and it's going to turn out. So what I have is all the pieces here. And what I'm going to do first off is take some 60 grit sandpaper, some 60 grit, and I'm going to scar the surface of everything. Okay. And what this is going to do is it's going to take the MDF board, okay, because MDF is really smooth. It's a hard board and it's real smooth. What it's going to do is open up the pores to the actual MDF. And it's going to do a couple different things. One, it's going to get rid of our smooth surface, okay? It's going to put a little bit of texture into it. And it's going to rough it up enough that we can go ahead and do different effects to it that we couldn't per se do if the board was smooth. So first thing I'm gonna do is just take my 60 grit here and I'm gonna go ahead and make this board look more like wood, okay? More like a wood paneling type of facade that's on this. So I don't wanna go all sorts of different ways when I'm sanding it. I just wanna go one direction, okay? So like up here on top, I just wanna take this and go back and forth with it and kind of get it to bite in. I'll just do this a little bit in here. show you. Okay, so it's right like that. You can already see there's a little bit of a color difference with it, but if you get up onto it and you feel it, you can feel that there's grains in it, okay? There's sand marks in it. So that's what I'm going after. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna sand everything, okay? I'm gonna sand this. I'm gonna sand the stairs, the structure on the stairs, whole 9 yards. I'm gonna go ahead and just sand it all. And when we come back, we'll have it all sanded and we'll start playing around with our next step. All right, so we're back. I have this sanded front and back. I have the other pieces sanded as well. Now what we need to do is go ahead and address this piece a little bit further. But before we do, let me go ahead and show you something. Now, on the last kit that we built, okay, which is this right here, the leaderboard with all the placement and the driver's numbers and everything is all one solid piece, okay? So it's all one solid piece. But the cool thing is it has these scribe marks of each one of these areas on the board. And gets even better. So besides that, we have the finish piece, you know, the molding that goes over the top. But when they go ahead and ship this to you, it is going to have, let me grab one. Oh, I got one right here. It's going to have these little tabs that are in the inside, okay? So when they ship it, it doesn't bust, and you take these out, right? Now, with the last video, we went around, we trimmed everything up, we cut these off, trimmed off all the little tabs and everything. So that's one of the things kind of skipped over on this video, but we covered it on the last video. But yes, when you get these kits, it's going to have a bunch of these tabs. Everything is going to have, well, let's see here. I have this piece right here that still has a bunch of different stuff in it. Now, you got to push these out, but they have little tabs on them. So you want to take a razor knife and cut your tabs off before you push them out, because this MDF in certain areas can be real delicate, okay? So take your time, a little bit of caution when you do that. So now we covered that. Let's get back to this. So it has these little tabs, right? And they go in here. Well, the cool thing is, let me go ahead and set this off, is that they are the same size as these little squares, okay? So what that means is, well, you could go ahead and put that, the printed off, you know, portion with all the numbers on it, and you can put that on it, or you can customize this a little bit. And what I mean by that is we can cut out some of these squares and have them open, and then you can take the numbers from that, put them on this, and either lay them back there on the stairs, like, you know, they're getting ready to put it on, or in my instance, we can just build that into the weathering that it's a little bit, it's falling apart. So what I'm going to do is, let me go ahead and get this guy off to the side. So set him somewhere safe. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my Dremel and I'm gonna go ahead and cut out maybe 1 or 2. I don't know yet. We'll see how many, when we come back, how many I decided to get rid of on this board. But the cool thing is we have the scribe marks. So we can go ahead and take our Dremel or cutting tool and cut these squares out, and then come back with a razor knife or whatnot, trim up the edges, make them nice and crisp. I'm gonna use like a little file, and I'm also gonna use a little bit of sandpaper just to make sure that they're nice and crisp. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna go ahead and take my Dremel, I'm gonna cut out at least 2 of these squares, and we come back, we'll take it to the next step. Okay, so we're back, and I went ahead and I trimmed out 3 squares. So I got 3 areas that are not gonna have any numbering on them. They're gonna be somewhere else in this little idea that I have. So what I've also done, if you notice, is I went ahead and scribed the lines of the molding piece that goes over the top. And why I'm doing that is so I have placement, okay? So what I'm actually gonna do is use this side for the back side, okay? And I'm gonna use this side for the front. So I went ahead and just took a pencil, laid this down, and just kind of scribed it all out. So I have a template when I go to lay this back down that I can make sure that it's all in the right spot. Now what I'm gonna do is go ahead and take my razor knife and I'm gonna scribe this outside line all the way around. And then that way when it's painted, it's still gonna have a little bit of an indent in there, so I can use that as reference when I put that molding piece back on. But besides that, I want to go ahead and make this look like wood paneling. Instead of being a solid piece, I want to make that it looks like it has, you know, planking up here, that they built it with planking. So what I'm going to do with that, it's always one thing, right? So what I'm going to do is go ahead and take my ruler, and I'm probably going to do these at about this is centimeters. So at a 1/2 centimeter, okay, 1/2 centimeter, I'm gonna go ahead and make some marks. So let me go ahead and do this real quick. Just measure this out. Okay, that's there. So I'm just gonna go ahead and put a mark at a 1/2 centimeter apart. Okay. And what this is going to do is give me kind of a guide to go off of. Those are actually really small. I'm at actually, is that a 1/2 centimeter? No, those were 1/4 centimeters. What? I'm actually going to run these at a centimeter, 1 centimeter instead of a 1/2. A 1/2 is going to be way busy. So I'm going to do it at a 1/2 centimeter. So I actually have these at the bigger marks are at 1/2. So what I'm going to do is measure all the way down and put some lines all the way through, and then also measure down the side and put some lines here. And then what I'll do is come back with my razor knife, and then I'll scribe those lines so it looks like that there's planking down in this. It's not a solid piece. It'll have definition as far as looking at, you know, just give it a little more definition to it, a little bit more detail. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that, and I'm gonna do it on front and the back. Now the back, I'm gonna have to do all the way up into this area as well, because like with the last one, go ahead and grab the, yep. On the back side, I'm not going to run the Firestone on both sides. I actually really like the way that turned out. So I'm gonna make some structure on the back as well, but I want this area up in here to have kind of that look that there's boards that are connecting everything, and it'll give a little bit more reason why the structure's back here and it's holding everything together. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that, and it's gonna take me a little bit, so I'll see you guys in a few. All right, so I went ahead and I got everything scribed, so you can see it on this side, goes down and around. Then also on the back side, went ahead and did it up in here where all that structure is going to be. So it kind of looks like old shiplap siding that's on there. So yeah, that'd be, you know, it just kind of dresses it up a little bit more. So there's that. And then I also went ahead and took my razor knife and went around these areas as well. Since we sanded it, I wanted to crispen up all these different lines. So I went ahead and took my razor knife and just retraced all the way through there. And on the front, I made sure that I retraced the line around the perimeter so we can go ahead and line that all up. Now, I also, on the staircase on the back, went ahead, let me grab one of these. Let's see here, is this one? Nope, that one's not all the way done yet. So let me grab one that is right here. And you can tell that I went ahead and scribed up in here as well. I'm going to have that shiplap type of siding all over the place on this thing, um, just kind of doll it up a little bit. So the same way I did that is the same way I did these down in here. And then also went ahead and took advantage of this being apart and went ahead and scribed in between all these different boards, so that when it's all said and done, you'll see these little imprints that are in there that'll actually give some definition that it's not a solid piece. It looks like there's individual pieces that are in there. So at this point, I have the pretty much the staircase all done. I have the front done, but what I want to do now is go ahead and I'm going to trim these out. These center sections right here, I'm going to trim these completely out. And what I'm going to do in place of this is I'm going to go ahead and put some wire mesh. So when we come back, I'll have these trimmed out, and I'm just going to go ahead and cut those out, most likely with my my Dremel and just a cutoff wheel, and just slice those guys off nice and clean. So we come back, I'll have that done. Cross my fingers that it goes okay, because again, MDF, once you start taking away some of its structure on some of these thinner areas, it's gonna want to break. So just kind of take our time and do that. All right, so we come back, we'll see what it looks like. All right, so we're back, and I went ahead and I've got this all trimmed out. So if we look at it now, it doesn't have those railings in the inside of it. Now, I was originally going to use the Dremel to do it, and the more I thought about it, the more I thought that may not be a wise idea because Dremels, even with a cutoff tool, can have a tendency of grabbing a hold. And if it did that with this MDF, it probably would snap it. Okay, so on second thought, after I kind of got off the camera and stuff like that and started kind of look at it, I thought, that may not be the wisest way to do this. So what I actually did is I used a pair of wire dikes, okay? And I just went in and just snipped them off. And it actually went really quick. And it left a little bit of a nub on the back side. So at that point, I just went ahead and took a flat file, and I was able to file it down, and with a little bit of sandpaper, just go ahead and sand those down flat. Now, this area in here was pretty easy because, you can get right down into it with the file. The actual staircase was a little bit more of a challenge because my file, this big guy, it just won't fit down in there. So what I ended up doing was using a little bit more of the razor knife, razor knifing it down, and then taking some of this 60 grit sandpaper and folding it up, and then just work it out, and get rid of those little nubs. But yeah, looks pretty cool. Now that we have all this done, the reason why I'm doing that is because I'm going to go ahead and use the wire mesh for like kind of a fencing in the inside of all this, right? Now, if you've seen my crash fence video or whatnot, you've seen this mesh, and I'll go ahead and put a link up as far as what exactly this stuff is. But it's really cool stuff. I mean, it has a really nice pattern to it. It's real nice and tight, and it looks really good with the 1/32 scale. So the idea is, let me find my little piece of mesh that I've somehow misplaced. You get everything, there it is. You get everything down in front of you, and I know it's a little bit messy. Sorry about that, guys. Sometimes you misplace stuff. So here is a little piece of mesh. Now, the idea is that this will go, whoops, on the inside of this. Okay. And it would give us that look, which is pretty cool. I mean, it's different from the original. Plus it just adds a little bit more pizzazz to it. You got a little bit of steel back there, and we can weather that and stuff, make it look rusty or whatnot. But I just thought that would be kind of a neat way of doing this. Now, a lot of times I start doing things and get ahead of myself. I haven't thought it all the way through yet. Well, this is one of those cases. I had this idea, got in my head, said, yep, that's what I'm going to do. Went ahead and trimmed everything out. And now I've been staring at this for the last, hour, maybe hour and a half, going, okay, now you did this, Boone. How are you going to do this and make it look right? So what I've decided is that I need to go ahead and assemble the actual staircase. Okay. Need to go ahead and get that assembled, so then I can go ahead and start incorporating this into it. And the reason why I'm doing it that way is, well, a couple things. Let me go ahead and let me grab the other one real quick. So actually, I'm kind of happy I haven't sent this off to Kevin yet, because I've been staring at this, seeing everything together going, well, what if, right? So the idea is I'll go ahead and get this staircase all assembled, and then I can come in and start putting in my mesh. I was originally thinking about putting it on the inside first, but I've kind of shied against that. I want to go ahead and put it on the outside, and then I can build up this area, the wood around here with balsa wood, to kind of give it a little bit of a cap that goes over the top. Plus, the other thing is I want to go ahead and cap the top of the railing so it's not narrow. It's going to have kind of a wider cap to it. I thought that would kind of look kind of cool. So with doing that, this area, I mean, that's pretty self-explanatory. And then when it comes down into the actual staircase itself, I'll do the same thing. Trim this up, go ahead and lay that mesh down, and then lay my railings and stuff over the top so I can go ahead and just kind of dress it up a little bit. And then obviously with the staircase exposed on both sides, I can go ahead and mimic the same thing up on top. So that is the plan. I hope it's a good plan. We'll find out together. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and assemble the staircase. Staircase is a little bit tricky, and I went over that when I built this staircase. And one thing about Jonah and Kevin is that they build these with really tight tolerances. So when it comes to the stairs, you want to go ahead and take your time. And a lot of times what I'll do is I won't even use any glue on the stair treads. I'll go ahead and set them into place and get them all set there, set this guy up on top, start lining them up, and then I'll take a light hammer and lightly tap it to work them into place. And the fit is so tight that it actually will stay together. And then once it's all together, then I can come back with super glue and smear right over the tops where these treads will be, the face of the treads will be at. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and assemble this. When we come back, I'll show you what I mean about everything, and then I'll show you how I'm just going to go ahead and glue these surfaces to lock the stair treads into place. All right, so let me go ahead and get this all kind of lined up, and we come back, we'll at least have a staircase together. All right, so we're back. Finally, we're back. And what I mean by that is the last clip that I just filmed was on July 28th. And today is now August 14th. So it's been a few days since I've been able to come back into the garage and do this. And the main reason is down here in Texas, we've been hit by kind of a heat wave, and I do not have AC in the garage. All I have is a box fan. And I tried to film a couple times, and I was having drips of sweat that were coming down. And I thought, we'll just kind of try to wait this heat out and see what happens. So today it's actually, well, it's 9 o'clock at night. And I think our temperature is, it's roughly about 90 degrees in the garage. So that is a lot better than the previous time I was in here, and it was like 102. So I can deal with 90. All right. So now that we got all that going and you guys kind of are up to speed as far as what has gone on, I went ahead and assembled the staircase. All right, so I did the staircase, and if you notice, I went ahead and I have the wire mesh, this mesh, and I cut it down and put it in place of where those slats were at. Now, the slats, let me grab the other leaderboard. You can see all it has those slats all on the back side, and I went ahead and cut those out and put the mesh in place of it, and I think it looks pretty cool. I mean, it just kind of dolls it up a little bit. Now, I'm also going to come in and trim off over the tops of these areas here so we can hide that with some balsa and get that all trimmed out. And yeah, but it's kind of a cool little way. And I just went ahead and super glued it on the back side, and gives it a neat effect, really cleans it up nicely. So what I need to do next from this is to go ahead and assemble the other portion of our staircase, and that's the platforms. So we have these two platforms that are going to go, and they go up above and down below. So we have those, set those there. And then we have, where is that piece? There it is. And we have this piece right here. So I'm going to go ahead and assemble that. And I have some mesh that I need to do in there too. So kind of give you an idea. This isn't cut to what this is going to be, but if we put that up inside there, yeah, it's going to trim it out pretty cool. So we come back, I'll go ahead and have this assembled. I'll have the mesh on there. And then next thing I want to do after that, well, there's a couple things, but still got a bunch of stuff to do this staircase. I was looking at the inside and you see how the MDF is really smooth in here, which it worked with the other one because I went ahead and did it kind of a metal type of planking, construction in the back. This one, since I'm going for a wood effect, all with wood, I was thinking about taking some balsa, and I believe this is 1/16 by ½ inch, and I might actually split this down so that it turns into a little bit more of a plank style. But to go ahead and lay those in here across to kind of give that effect of, kind of a wood plank floor. All right. So I've got that there. And then also this has the grading on it, which is really cool. I mean, Jonah came up with this grading effect and it's really cool, but I think I'm going to go ahead and cover it up with plank. So we come back, we'll see where I got. All right, so I went ahead and I got it all trimmed out. So let me kind of show you what I did here. So we've got some wood slats down there on the landings for the stairs, and just went ahead and used some balsa. Actually, it's kind of funny. I haven't been able to get to the store to get some balsa, so what I've been doing is just taking some flat stock and just slicing my own board width, which, it works okay. A lot of times you can just customize your own board width by doing that and not have to go out and spend the money for a bunch of different sizes. So that is kind of what I did in this area in here as far as the landings. Now, the actual railings and whatnot are actually stir sticks, coffee stir sticks. And I mean, they turn out pretty cool. They really trimmed it out nice. And then also, if we turn this around, I'll show you guys the back side of it, which went ahead and trimmed that all up. Now you want to get this all done before we go ahead and start putting the other landings on platforms, because it'd be a little hard to start doing some of this stuff if it's all put together. So kind of took advantage and did this while it was apart. Now also, if you look in the inside, I went ahead and added some structure in the inside of this as well. So I went ahead and put some cross pieces in here just to kind of doll it up a little bit more, give it a little bit more detail. And the cool thing is when you have these kits and you're taking them apart, you're going to have a bunch of different little pieces that come off that hold stuff together. And what I like to do is just go ahead and gather them all up. I just put them in a little plastic bin, and you have all this extra little material here. So kind of cool stuff. I mean, nothing goes to waste when you start, you know, kind of looking at different stuff. So there's that. So I went ahead and I have that all finished up. Now, I wasn't thinking. I was thinking, oh, okay, well, I'll get this and I'll do my landings and I can't assemble it yet. And the other thing is the backing of the sign, I needed to go ahead and get this painted. So I went ahead and got it painted. Now I used rattle can on this with no primer, okay? And you're kind of thinking to yourself, well, how are you able to paint MDF with no primer? And it turns out, well, once you scuff MDF and you get kind of that smoothness out of it, the paint will actually, you know, lay down quite nicely. So went ahead and sprayed this out with red. And on the back side, I went ahead and put in tons of structure, and it's all done out of balsa. Now, the last one that I did, I'll bring that one down in a sec. But what I did is go ahead and paint this all out, and then I just kind of stressed it out. And what I mean by that is I took like a wire brush, I took a straight edge razor blade and just scraped it and everything else to go ahead and just kind of weather it out. If you look in there, looks kind of cool. Some of the boards are all kind of weathered out and whatnot. Now you also notice that the balsa itself is not stained yet. And I just wanted to kind of go through this first and show you that. Now, the black in here was done with just a black wash. But what I did is I went ahead and tapped it into black paint straight, put a little dab on it, then went ahead and took my brush, put it in some water, and just kind of moved it around. And by doing that, it just kind of gives it just kind of a blotchy look to it. So kind of cool. I mean, it's not real brilliant black. You can see where there's some overspray in here with the red that's in there. I thought that was kind of a cool touch. And yeah, just kind of did it like that. So there's this. Now let me go ahead and grab the other leaderboard so we can kind of tear and compare the two. So now here is the first leaderboard that I did, okay? So if we look, oh geez, yeah, let me go ahead and let me reposition the camera just a little bit. It's shaking everything else real quick. So let me go ahead and raise this up and get a little bit more height out of it. There we go, that's better. Okay, so if we look at the back side of this, you can see where the silver area is up on top with the structure. And then the actual balsa that lays under that, I went ahead and painted that all out red, okay? So a little bit different as far as this one versus that one. Plus the other thing is I used round dowel on that one, okay? The round dowels, just to kind of mimic per se like metal tubing or something like that would be putting behind this as far as structure goes. So yeah, there's that. Then also, if you look down in here, you'll see the actual board itself. And I never went ahead and separated that. I just went ahead and used the lines that were there for that type of effect. Now, here is this. So I'll set this off to the side gingerly, kinda, hopefully. Yep, okay, there. Set it off to the side. Now, we'll go back to this. Now, I went ahead and put balsa all down through the whole entire side here, so you can see that. And this is all just like square and flat balsa up in here, which gives it more of a lumber type of look. If you come up like this, you can see how that looks. So kind of a different look you know, a little bit different. Obviously, it's a lot more weathered on the back side of it. But yeah, kind of cool. You know, it's kind of cool. You take one of these kits and you can just kind of put your own little spin on it. And, you know, it's kind of fun to see how it starts to come to life as you start working on it. So there's that. When we come back, let me go ahead and show you how I did the stressing out like I did on this side. Okay, so let's go ahead and go over how I kind of stress this out, all right? Now, you notice I don't have any sandpaper. The reason for that is when you start to sand the surface of this, okay, you start to scuff it, what's going to happen is a lot of time that sandpaper or the grit and everything will get down inside the grooves. And it just makes it a little bit more difficult to try to get it out because it's such a tight little area. You can do that and then come back with like an X-Acto, you know, and go through all your lines again if you want to do that. That's, you know, very, very well, you can do that. But I have just kind of this technique. So this is what it kind of looks like. Let's go ahead and I'll bring that up again. And it's kind of cool because also when you hit it with a wire brush, you can see how it starts to put like a grain into it. So it takes the smoothness. Let me grab just a regular piece of balsa, or not balsa, I'm sorry, MDF. So let me grab a piece of MDF here. Ugh. Oh, hopefully nothing broke. Okay. So here we go. Oh, geez, there it goes. All right. So here is just a regular piece of MDF. And if you look at this, it's fairly smooth. A little bit of glue right there, but it's fairly smooth. It doesn't really have any type of texture to it. Okay. Let's go up here. Take a look at this. So we can see this up close. Now you can see that texture right in here, you know, versus the smoothness. So it's kind of gives, you know, it's kind of cool. You can take this material, manipulate it, and get some really cool effects out of it. So here's this, set that off to the side. Now that we've gone over all of that, I need to go ahead and show you guys exactly how I did this. So here we go. So we have it on this side. It's just raw as far as being painted. Now I'm going to do is take this wire wheel and I'm just going to scrape it, okay? And I'm going to scrape it with the direction that I have everything. And you can already see it's starting to just kind of weather it out. So let me set this down. And I'm just going to kind of hit it. I'm not hitting it hard, just kind of lightly going over it. And since the wire is so aggressive, it really rips into it. So I'll go ahead and bring that up. You start to see how that works, and it's starting to break through a little bit. Now, take your razor blade, right? So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take it and I'm going to scrape it along it. Okay? And what this is going to do, bring that back up, it's going to start to kind of hit the high spots and just kind of weather it out even more. Now, you can take this and say we have some boards down in here, and I need my glasses so I can see. Otherwise, it just looks like a blurry red blob. Ah, there it is. I can see it now. Okay. So we get down in here into some of these boards. So there's a board right here. What I'll do is I'll scrape this right on the side there. And then I'll find the top of that board and I'll bring it back. Just kind of give it this. It's kind of a tedious thing to do, but it starts to really work out pretty cool. And I'll just kind of hit some of these real quick so you can kind of get the idea. And there you go. So what I need to do is just kind of work my way all the way around here and just kind of go ahead and distress it all out. Now, after I did that, I might want to come back again, lightly kiss it, and there we go. All right, so that's the way I went ahead and created this type of effect. Now, also on the sides, okay, so right up in here, if we look down in here, you can see kind of how the sides are kind of a little bit weathered right there. Take your razor blade, go ahead and set it on the side like this, just drag it back. Just kind of hit this. And there you go. Got a weathered edge. So I'm going to go ahead, play around with this some more. And yeah, there's a couple other things I need to do. Yeah, so let me go ahead and do this. When we come back, we'll figure it all out. Okay, so the next step we need to do after this is go ahead and start staining some of this balsa so we can start putting some stuff together. So what I'm using is just a Watco Danish oil, and it's what is that? It's that medium walnut. Always use that medium walnut. And then I'm having some ebony stain as well. Now, the cool thing about the Danish oil is that we're going to go ahead, not only we're going to stain the wood, but it's also going to go ahead and do a little bit of weathering as far as like a black wash on this stuff as well. It's going to get down into all the little nooks and crannies. So what I'm doing is just spreading this on, and you can see how it just kind of works itself down in there and kind of gives you a little bit more definition. So let me go ahead and get some of this more down in here, and then we'll come back with some of that ebony stain, and I'll show you how that works as well. So I just need to get this down on both sides. You notice I'm not being real cautious here. I'm just slopping stain everywhere, right? And the cool thing is, well, especially with this, is because I am doing kind of a real weathered look onto it, it just helps with everything. Kind of gives it that blotchiness, kind of that old worn out look. Now, ebony stain is extremely strong, and you'll notice I'm just using a fine detail brush. So let me go ahead and use this like so. Now you're gonna get your hands a little bit dirty doing this, but what I'm doing is just coming in, giving a little bit of a dab, and then taking my finger and just kind of massaging it in. So, and what I'm doing is right here on the edges, kind of give it some of that, maybe a little bit of mildew look, kind of a, kind of weather that wood out so it doesn't look brand new, kind of get it down in there. So it's, it's a cool little technique. Just go ahead and just work it down, pull it through, and the stain will actually start to creep around. You'll notice in here. So if I go like that, move it, just kind of massage it in certain ways, and it creates kind of it looks like a water stain effect. So let me get up there. It's just kind of messy looking, but it matches the whole entire motif. And if you look down at the MDF with that, you can see how it looks like kind of like a black wash in there. So I'm going to go ahead and keep on going with this. I also have the staircase to do. And once that's done, then I can go ahead and start doing these treads and get the plank set up here on top the same way I did the landings on the staircase. So just go ahead and cut some slats and put them in there. And we come back, this will be assembled front and back, and we'll see what it looks like. All right, so it's together. Now I went ahead and put the other one in the background. You have this one, so you kind of, it really changes up the back side. Just by doing the screen, and then obviously doing the stain work instead of painting it out with the color, and it really changes the whole entire motif on the back side. So if we take a look at this, you can see how kind of went through and used those two different stains on it, as far as the dark walnut and the ebony, and it really gives it a cool look. I mean, just really weathered out and everything else. And if we bring it up like this, you can see down inside, down in here, where I got rid of the original platform and put the planks over the top. And yeah, I mean, it's cool. It is really cool. So, and what I mean by that is if I tilt this guy down, you can see in the inside. Okay, so you can see where the original has kind of that grading, in where I went ahead and put planking down instead. So yeah, every little tweaks here and there to spice it up. So there is that. Now what I need to do is go in and cover up these areas here, finish up my railings on both sides. So I have the screen down in here. I need to finish the railing here, finish the railing up in here, cap this off, and I think, oh, yep, and over here. And yeah, then we can go ahead and start attacking the side portions of this. So these areas in here that go up and down. So when we come back, we'll go ahead and start checking those out. Okay, cool. We're back, and I have this guy complete. Went ahead and finished it all off with the extra trim, and got the railings up here on the edge, and that's all finished off. So yeah, this is this looks pretty cool. Now what we need to do are the side supports that go on either side of this. And what we have here are two of them right here. I went ahead and painted all up. Now with these, one of them is just raw with the paint, and the other one is after I've weathered it. And you can see it kind of matches the motif a little bit better than one that's all freshly looking red. So what I did with this is went ahead and sprayed it with just a regular bomb can red. Now with the MDF, I made sure that I went ahead and sanded everything first, so that I wouldn't need to have that primer coat down, and the paint was able to, you know, pretty much lay out real easily. It's a little bit on the edges. It has a little bit of an issue, but for what I'm going after here, this works beautifully. So what I did was I went ahead and, well, you can take a look at this, and it looks pretty cool. I mean, a little bit of dust right there, but it has just a nice weathered look to it. It's just, yeah. So what I did was I just went ahead and sprayed it, and then afterwards I took a little bit of 60 grit paper and just kind of worked my way down into it. And what I'm doing is I'm hitting kind of the edges and whatnot, and what we're going to do is just kind of expose some of the wood underneath it. Okay, so you know, want to have kind of a little bit sanded on the edges, drag it down into here. Actually, I'm going to use this one. And we're just going to kind of hit some of these cross pieces, since I'm going after kind of a wooden look, right? Now, if I wanted to go and make these things look like they were steel, obviously it would be a little bit different. I would, in fact, probably go ahead and hit it with a gray primer underneath, or maybe even a red oxide, spray this, and then go through the same motions, but the weathering would be different because I would need to make like rust type of effect. So that is a little bit different technique than what we're going to do on this one. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit this, and you can see it's already starting to kind of weather it out. It's just kind of de-stressing the wood. So I'm just going to hit it like so. Then once I get it there, I'm going to take my trusty wire wheel and go ahead and rip this down through it. And just going one direction with it. What this is going to do is going to give kind of a greenish look to it. And at the same time, it is just kind of weathering it out that much more. So go and hit this a little bit more. And then once I have the look that I want, which is getting pretty close, I want to do a little bit more down in here because this side, yeah, this side is sitting on the ground. So I want it to be a little bit more stressed out. So hit it like that. Now, once I have that, I'm going to take some 120 paper and I'm just going to come over the top. Okay, and by taking the 120, what this is going to do, it's going to take the sheen off of the red paint. Okay, so now we've gotten rid of the sheen. So let me take a towel here. I'm going to go ahead and hit this. Kind of show you what we got here. Well, so there we go. So that's what we have at this point. All right. So now what I'm going to do is go ahead and do the remaining 3 sides. When we come back, we'll go ahead and use the Danish oil and the ebony stain to go ahead and give it that last little bit of oomph to it. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and finish that. We'll come back. We'll make it look like this. Okay, so now the first thing we want to do is go ahead and use this Danish oil, this Watco, and that's the medium walnut. And what I'm going to do is just go right over the top of this, okay? So I'm just going to load it up and just bring it right over the top. And what that will do is go ahead and take those areas that we sanded with the MDF that's popping through, and it will start just to tint it down, so it kind of gets kind of a grungy look to it. And the cool thing with this is that it's kind of like a mild wash, but at the same point in time, it's kind of getting into that MDF, and it's staining it for us. So it's kind of giving us kind of a weathered wood look on the underside of this. So now once I have this all done like so, I'll show you what it looks like. So that's what it is. That's without, and there it is with it. And you can see it already kind of tints it down, it already is giving it kind of an aged look to it. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and do the rest of the sides here, and then what we're going to do is come back with that ebony stain, and I'll show you that step. Okay, so I have the walnut on the whole entire side, the Danish oil. Now what I'm going to do is go ahead and take this ebony stain in a small little detail brush, and I'm just going to go ahead and hit it down here at the bottom like so, and you'll see how this is going to react. Now the Danish oil is still wet, and the cool thing about that is that it will go ahead and start helping us as far as moving the stain around. So I'm just going to hit in certain areas here that I want to have that weathering effect. And let me get done with this, and you'll see, just kind of work it, kind of blend it out, load it up into certain areas. You can use different techniques as far as tapping it or whatever, and it starts to really look cool. It's kind of hard to see on camera because the gloss with it, but when you're actually looking at it, you'll see how it just kind of, these little dark areas start to come in. So what I'm going to do is just kind of hit it down through, kind of picture where You know, if this was standing there for years, where would the water staining be? You know, where would it be on this? So just kind of concentrate on some of the junctions, kind of work that around. And I'm not making it per se blotchy as much as just kind of taking it and then move it around. Just kind of want to discolor it. You don't want to keep it like that per se. You want to move it. So we're just going to kind of move this down, get it into those little nooks and crannies, and kind of give it that look. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and get this all done. And next thing we need to do is go ahead and, once these dry, mount them on the leaderboard. Okay, so we're back. I went ahead and I have these guys mounted on the side, and I did something a little bit different. So on the tops, on either side, it has a little plate. Okay, so it has this plate that goes up there, and then what it has, let me grab the other one over here. It has a little signature, a little billboard signage that goes on top, little flag. So, you know, with this build, I'm thinking of different ways of kind of changing it up. So what I opted to do was, I'm gonna go ahead and put this on, but I'm gonna wrap it in some tin foil. And what this is the actual, it's a roasting pan that you can get from a store. And it's this, and it's really cool. It's aluminum. You can go ahead and cut it out and use it for all sorts of different things. You've seen my other videos. I've used this material for garbage cans. I've used it for all sorts of different stuff. Cool stuff, not very expensive, does some really cool things. So I'm going to set that off. So I went ahead and cut off a little piece. And what I'm doing is taking this and then wrapping it onto this, okay, wrap it all onto it, and then glue it into place, trim out the excess. So just kind of something a little bit different, but it's shiny, you know, it's shiny aluminum, and that's not going to work with something like this that's all weathered out. So what I have opted to do is go ahead and give it kind of a rust look. So kind of cool. The rusty kind of blends in there, kind of fits the whole entire motif. So if you haven't seen that, as far as how to do rust effect, when we come back, I'll go ahead and I'll have this mounted onto this plate, and we'll do a little bit of rust effect on this. All right, so we come back, let's make this shiny piece rusty. All right, so we're back, and let's make this thing rusty. So what I'm going to use are just 3 different acrylic colors. I have this dark satin, which is called bittersweet, but it's a lot like a burnt umber. I have this right here, which is called honey bear, another acrylic, and it's, well, let me show you. It's a beigey, kind of a beigeish color to it. Yeah, it's a one way of putting it. Is just kind of a brownish beige, kind of more on the yellowish tinge of beige. And then I have this, which is straw yellow, another acrylic. Now, how we're going to apply this isn't with a brush or anything else. I do have a brush here just for some detail work, a little fine tip brush. But what we're going to use is a sponge, all right? And this is one of my wife's old scrubbing sponges she uses in the kitchen to clean dishes. So I was able to grab one of those, one of the old ones, and just rip off some material. You want to make sure it's kind of rough, right? So let me see here. I got this one right here, which what I was using before for the other one. So what we're going to do, oh, and one other thing, piece of wood or a piece of paper or something like that. And what you want to use this for is to clear it out. Okay. So I have my 3 colors here, and here's the dark. So I'm going to go ahead and load it up, kind of dry blotch it a little bit, and then take my piece of aluminum, and I'm just going to go ahead and sponge it on there. Actually, this first coat could go on stronger. I could go just like so. And what we're trying to do is get a nice kind of constant look to it. Okay. Right now, it's going to take probably just a couple coats to get the actual consistency down that I want to get, being that this is going to be, you know, it's going to be pretty rusty. So cool thing about this also is that by blotting your acrylic onto it, it's going to give it a little bit of texture as well. So kind of cool idea. So let me go ahead and I'll get this on here. And you can see how it's just kind of slowly taking shape. All right, so gotta remember to get the sides. Actually, I'm just going to concentrate on the top. I'll come back and do the sides because my hands are taking the acrylic paint off the sides. So let me go ahead and just do this. So we got that color down. And it's got a pretty good thickness to it. Might add a little bit more. Let's see here. Just so I can get a little bit nicer coverage. I'll take that. There we go. Now we're talking. That's looking good. So there, kind of see how that is. Kind of a blotchy type of effect. Now, I'm going to take the beigey color, okay, clear it out a little bit. And now I'm going to come back and just kind of hit this sporadically around it. Okay, just kind of hit it like so. And you can already see how it's starting to take effect. It's making it kind of look muddy. It's just kind of getting that pretty cool look to it, right? So now we have that down. Now I'm going to come into my yellow, my straw yellow. Now I'm just going to go ahead and hit this down. Now the straw yellow, you'll notice I'm not putting that much onto it. Okay, just kind of moving around a little bit, and you can see how powerful it is. So now I'm going to come back with that burnt umber or the bittersweet, and then come back over the top, and we can tone that down. Plus, you notice everything's wet on wet, and what that is doing is kind of helping it smear around. It's giving it kind of that look as far as, well, you know how rust is. I mean, it has the different colors into it, but nothing is really per se pronounced. So kind of add a little bit of this, a little bit more to it to give us kind of that little rustier look to it. I'll load up some of these edges over here and give it that effect. It's starting to take shape pretty good. So now I'm gonna come back, and it's just kind of a preference, right? It's kind of a preference, what you feel that it needs. Now I'm going to use kind of the dry side, and I'm just going to blot it so there's no paint on that side. And use it just like so. Whoop. Hold some of it off. That's okay. We can come back, hit it like that, and there we go. And the cool thing about this, you can see a little bit of that aluminum that's popping through it, and we have this look of texture and kind of a rusty kind of feel to it. Now, you can come back with a brush if you want and kind of hit these little areas that maybe you want to add just a little bit more definition in some of these areas, and just kind of hit it like so. Maybe you want to get a little bit of a strand in there of a little bit different color, or some of these areas that are kind of a little too shiny, hit those a little bit, cover them up just a tad, and there we go. So what I need to do is go ahead and let this dry a little bit more, and then I can go ahead and hit the sides, and then I'll mount it up on top. But let me show you one other thing while we have all this out, and that is, once I went ahead and got this on here, I took some of the bittersweet or the burnt umber with a small detail brush, and then just went ahead and kind of wafted down onto the sides, just kind of give a little bit of streaking as far as onto the wood structure that we have up on top. And it's kind of cool, you know, it's just a different look, gives it that much more weathering, you know, onto it. And yeah, like I said, I'm not going to go ahead and put the signage up on top. I have a different idea that I want to go ahead and play around with the top of this. But what I'm going to do is when we come back, I'm going to have this cap, well, the one that we just did, mounted over on that side. And I'll have that blended out as far as the, you know, a little bit of streaks down there. Also, let me go ahead and pull the camera out a little bit. There we go. Also, I have, let me get this out of here. Okay. I have a little bit of balsa right here. And if you notice, it has this area down below that where the tabs push through that you glue up. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and make this for a molding that's going to go right over the top of that. I'm going to have this painted out red to match the backdrop, and we'll have that installed. So that'll be installed there. Kind of little things. You can come up with trim just to kind of hide some of the mounting areas. On the first one, I went ahead and used joint compound, smeared it in there, sanded it off, and it worked great. I mean, I can bring that one out here and show you, but it worked really good. I mean, it's all nice and smooth in there. You don't see those areas, right? So you can do it that way, but with this, I have the little bit of boards that I created, so I don't want to use filler because then it's going to look out of place. So a little bit of balsa can go ahead and fit that. And plus the other thing is it's just added to it, a little bit more trim. So go ahead and put that in there. And always I went ahead and painted up the grill, or the finished molding piece that goes on the face. So I have that all painted. And I painted up, let me grab my paint board here. I also painted up my lettering for the sides. Okay, so we come back, kind of give you an idea. I went over all this type of stuff in the first time that I built this leaderboard. So if you're kind of wondering about that, you can go back to that first video, check that out, has this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get this all mounted up, the lettering and the grill. Now, the original kit, okay, so let me grab this. So, all right, this is just dragging on. The original kit has this for signage, okay? Now, this signage right here, Kevin actually told me was his original signage that he did for the leaderboard. Now, the leaderboard now comes with, I'm going to set that there, comes with the black, all right? So the black signage that's on there. And this is what's in the kits today. What I have opted, because my track isn't Brands Hatch, it's Deception Raceways, I have opted to go ahead and print out my own signage. So I'm actually going to do my own signage. And I went ahead, instead of doing black, I used kind of a goldish color, yellow color for the backdrop onto it. Now, I just went ahead and used my paint program on my computer and went ahead and printed out some numbers and the different positions and all that type of stuff. So I don't have to use this. I can go ahead and customize it to my own because I don't have Brands Hatch. I have Deception. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and get this all put on there with the molding and the lettering on the side. Yeah, I'll have that mounted on there as well. So when we come back, this thing's going to look pretty complete. It's going to have a lot of stuff done to it. So don't be shocked when you come back and say, oh, wait a minute, there's a bunch of stuff. Where'd those video clips go? Kind of explaining that I'm going to go ahead and take it quite a few jumps ahead. And again, if you're wanting to see that type of stuff, you can reference to the first video. I go over a lot of that and just kind of a little bit of a twist. So here we go. All right. So you see you guys in a little bit. All right. There it is. So like I said, it was going to take a major jump forward from the last clip. So I've got my lettering and everything all in the inside of it. And then pretty much all the weathering has been done with just the Danish oil and the ebony stain. Now you can see here on the numbers a little bit around the edges where it's kind of dirt looking as far as all grunged out. That was actually done with a little bit of acrylic, which is that bittersweet, or you could use dark umber. And I just went ahead and dry brush and just smeared it around the edges just to kind of give that, just give it that grungy look to it. And then I came back over with some 220 sandpaper, sanded it, made sure it kind of tore it a little bit so that, it just looks like it looks like crap. It looks like it's just been sitting in the woods neglected for years. Even up in here, goes all the way through, a little bit of black. And then I took the Firestone and just sanded that so it's all washed out. And then I actually took a little bit of the Watco dark walnut and just kind of put on my fingers and just smeared around to it just to kind of dirty it all up. We got the rust effect going on the upper here. And then that's painted down through, put the lettering on. Remember, that was all painted out white. So I went ahead and got it all glued on, and then took some sandpaper, sanded it pretty aggressively, actually. If you look at it, you can tell. And then came back over the top with the Danish oil and a little bit of ebony. And yeah, I mean, it really transforms it. Just looks grungy. So now what we need to do is, well, we got to start adding some lights to this. So on the last one, I went ahead and just added lights across the board to illuminate the board. And then I put a light, a couple lights on the back side. Haven't quite figured out what I'm doing on the back side yet. This has all been kind of flying by the seat of my pants with certain things with this. But I do want to go ahead and I'm going to incorporate track lighting on both of these side structures. So it's going to have a bank of lights on both sides that we can illuminate with. So when we come back, let's go ahead and I will share what's going through my head on this thing. Okay, so I've thought about this a little bit and come up with a lighting scheme for the project. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is the same thing I did on the other leaderboard, as far as having some lamps that are going to be across here as far as illuminating the board itself. Now these right here, I'll go ahead and put up a video as far as how I build these light fixtures, and it's pretty much the same thing that's used on, per se, a light pole. So let me go ahead and grab a light pole here. So same type of concept, we're just not using the actual pole itself. We're just using the top portion of it. And then I'll go in and get it all rusty and everything else so it kind of matches the whole entire motif. The other thing I'm going to do is go ahead and make some stadium lighting that are going to go up on either pillar. So this little guy right here, I'll go ahead and put up a video as far as with some stadium lighting that I did. And the same type of concept. This is a little bit different design, doesn't have as many lights on it, but pretty much the same type of concept. Now, what I'm doing as far as mounting those is that up on top, this is where those flags would be up on top, or that little bit of the checkered flag, the little guy. So the hole that's up on there, what I did is just go ahead and route that out a little bit more, and then I can set this light up on top. Now, this one is all done. It's all wired up, and it looks pretty cool. I mean, it's all been weathered out as far as the rust effect, and I think it'll look pretty good once it's up here. So let me go ahead. I was just doing this for test fit, just to make sure everything looks good. And when it's up there like that, let me go ahead and kind of pan that back. Looks pretty cool. So what I'm gonna do is go ahead and get those all on there. And then on the back side of this, so if we turn it around, now before I went ahead and put well, let me grab that other one. So if I grab this guy, what I did was just kind of put a little light pole right here that illuminated it. I don't know if I'm gonna do that this time. I might just kind of leave this a little bit dark. I'm probably gonna put the light back down in here like I did before. Now I have some bulbs that are kind of a flickering style, kind of a flame, kind of flickering style. And I thought about putting in there just kind of a little strobing, kind of give it the right ambiance as far as what I'm going after with kind of a deserted style structure. So haven't quite settled all the way on that one, but when we come back, I'll share with you as far as what I've come up with. So let me go ahead and get this nailed out, and we come back. It should be really close to do the final little part of finishing this thing off. Okay, so here we go. I opted not to put any lights in the back. In fact, my Patreon group, we get together and we have builds. So we do a Zoom meeting and stuff like that, and we have these builds that we do. And one of the builds that we did was light poles. And I went ahead and made this one during our Patreon. And I've decided that where I'm going to set this at, I'm actually going to have this light pole sitting back here, and it'll just kind of illuminate the back side of it. I thought that would be kind of a cool way to do it, because if this is supposed to be an abandoned structure, I don't want to have it all lit up. I'd rather have lights that are lighting it up than vice versa. So I thought, you know, what a great place to put the pole that we came up with. So I'm going to go ahead and use this. So I have a video that I've actually done these, and I'll put that up so you can see how this was done. Now, the actual structure itself, you can see in the back side, I went ahead and ran the wires down through and then dropped them right down inside of the side structure. And I did that on both sides. But let's go ahead and turn this around. You can see what it looks like with the actual lights on the front of it. And it looks pretty cool. I mean, you got the lights up on top here. You got the lights across here. They're going to illuminate that. And so the lighting now is done. So you're probably thinking, well, Boone, it's pretty much done. Well, yeah, it is. And if, you know, I could stop at this point, and yeah, it would be great. But I'm making an abandoned structure. And if it's abandoned, there's got to be a reason why it was abandoned, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to turn this thing around. And this gets to be kind of the hard part, because you spend all this time, you know, putting the kit together, and now we get to go in and start destroying parts of the kit so that we make it look like it's no longer no longer used. So we have our wire fencing, and if you see right in here, I've already kind of dulled it up a little bit. Went ahead and cut some holes in it, and then kind of did the rust technique around the sides just to kind of weather that out. So that's one of the things I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and make a few little holes in the fencing, kind of give it a little bit more character as far as that goes. But I also need to start breaking some of the structure. Yeah, I gotta break some of the structure. So I started with the the step that's right down in there. I don't know if you can see that from here, but there's a step that's down inside there that has been busted down. And I'm just going to keep on going. I have my dikes here, and I'm just going to go ahead and cut, and we're going to crush, and we're going to trim, and yeah, we'll see what we come up with, right? So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Next thing we need to do also after we destroy some of the structure is it needs some vegetation as far as some moss, some ivy. It needs some grass clumps, stuff like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and first off go in, break some stuff. Yeah, can't believe I'm saying this. Yeah, I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna break some stuff. I want to have a tree growing up through the middle of it. So that means I'm going to have to like drill down through, rip up some of these boards that were down here. Yeah, it's going to have to make a mess of it. So we come back, we'll see where we're at. Okay, so some of the destruction has commenced, right? So what I have is you can see the tree, it's growing up through the inside, and pretty much what I did is I just went ahead and took out some of those steps, and then this is a sedum tree that I'll put up a video on how to build those, and just had this guy just snake his way on through, and it looks pretty cool. There's a tree growing there. But you can see where I busted up certain things around here, took out some of the structure, a lot more holes in the fencing. Now I just got to go through, do a little bit more weathering on those areas to finish that off. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to be taking a bunch of Mod Podge, and I've got all sorts of different types of turfs here, and I have some of that flock that I've my own personal flock that I've made, and I'll put up a video on that too, on how to make flock, and also some beach sand. And I'm just going to go through here and just make this thing dirty. Might even take a couple extra boards that I have, little pieces of balsa, like this, bust them up, kind of stick them in there and stuff, or just, it just looks like it's been sitting around just gathering a bunch of stuff. So that's what I'm going to do. And when we come back, it'll be ready to go on the layout. And at that point, once I get it planted on the layout, I can go ahead then and apply the ivy, because ivy, grows from the ground up. So I can't exactly do any type of ivy work with it sitting here, because I need to go ahead and have the clump on the ground and then spiral that on up. So yeah, so that's where we're at. So we come back, we'll go ahead and we'll start putting this where it's supposed to be on the layout. Okay, we're back, and I'm still at it, and you can see how this thing is just starting to get overgrown. But what I've done is just taking that flock. I've got some grass tufts. I made some grass tufts out of static grass. Actually, the flock that I'm using, I got this from Hobby Lobby. It's not even per se like a name brand stuff, and you can see it was only like $10.99, and for actually a real good size of this. And the majority of this is used with that, and it really looks good. And as far as how that goes, I'm just taking some Mod Podge matte finish, and just kind of draping it on here like so, and we'll bring some up on the side here. I'll show you. It's really cool. Takes a little bit to do just because it's tedious, and I'm getting the inside of the structure as well. I haven't even started per se with the sides or the other side yet, just concentrating on the back. But I've got some extra stuff here on the table, and I'm just just pressing it down in there, you know. And what's going to happen is that a lot of this is going to not stick. Okay, so what happens after that is you just go ahead and kind of tap it, turn it upside down, stuff like that. A lot of it will fall down, and that material is actually usable again. So say you have another project that you want to do and you don't want to throw away all this flock, go ahead and collect it, put it in just like a little cup or something like that, and you know, you can save the excess flock. But it's, you know, it's kind of fun. You just kind of sit here again, just kind of, well, there's some areas here that, let's cover this up, because those are those areas that let's see here, can we see that there? Okay, so in this area, that's where some of the key junction was with it, the way that they created the kit. So let's go ahead and just put some of this Mod Podge down, load it up. Let's make this thing furry. So there we go. Now I'll just grab some more of this, put it in the cap like so, right? And then we're just going to take this and we're just going to dab it on. And it's, you know, it's funny. It just, you know, it looks so cool. Just really starts to take shape. So let me get this on here, and whoop, might as well use some of this off the table, right? Just kind of put that on there. And once I get done with this little spot, take a look at it, obviously, but then I'll take you for a trip around some of the other stuff. I'll get the camera off the stand and we'll go from there. So there, so that looks pretty cool. So let me get this off. All right, so this right here is coconut. Oh shoot, I forget what you call this. Coconut bark, or I can't remember. Coconut mat. That's what this is. And with this, actually, I use this to make my evergreen trees, right? But with that stuff, if you look right up here in the corner, and again, the glue is still drying, so you know. But yeah, I mean, it's really cool. Just different little things you can add at it, and it really starts. You can see those grass tufts. You can see the beach sand that's down there on the floor. And again, a lot of this is going to come back off because not all of it is glued. There's a lot of residue that is kind of laying there. It's not glued down, but yeah, I mean, it looks really cool. So if we look up inside here, we can see where that tree is going through. Let me move this water bottle. You can see that tree, the steps. There we go, just adding to it. Now, you can see I've started a little bit on the back wall. I want to come up a little bit, do some across the structure here. These guys, yeah, we're going to kind of pretty much just, well, it's an abandoned structure, guys, so it's got to look the part. So I think I'm getting there, and yeah, so I'll come back and we'll see what we ended up with. All right, so here we go. I've taken it a little bit further, and I went ahead and added ivy down to the front. Now, originally I wasn't planning on doing that until I had it up on the layout, but as I started to think about it, the front of this is going to be, it's going to be hard to try to access in the area that I have. I could access it, I can, but to try to do fine detail work, it's not the best place. So I thought, okay, I'm going to go ahead and do the front side ivy now, and it actually turned out pretty cool. So let me go ahead and bring this closer so you guys can see it. But I went ahead and put ivy, you know, on both sides here, a little bit down underneath, and then right over here on the edge. And that one actually, it wraps. Let's see here, let me move the camera back. It wraps around the side. So pretty cool. I mean, this is really starting to take a life of its own. So now on the back side of it, let me go ahead and just bring this up and over. We can see what that all looks like. And you know, it's turned out pretty cool. So I went ahead and I did my cleaning process to it and did a little bit of vacuum work and stuff like that. Excuse the mess, you guys. This place is just wiped out. But yeah, so you can still see the boards and everything else down there. You'll see the top as far as the rust on the bottom. There's a little bit of grass tufts down in there. Come over here, you can see all that. And there's the tree sticking through it. You see kind of the busted hand railing, and we'll come down in the front over here. And let me go ahead and detach the camera from the tripod. Okay, here we go. All right. And then we'll get up in here so you can see it a little bit better. And then you can see where the fencing has been chewed up as well. So pretty cool. And I showed you guys just the materials that I use. Now the ivy itself, I have a video on that, and I'll go ahead and put that up on here as well so you can see that. And pretty much everything that I've done to this up to this point is stuff that I have shown in prior videos. We're just kind of combining a bunch of stuff, different techniques, all into one. So if you're kind of going, well, Boone, how did you how'd you make this or how'd you make that? Well, the videos that go through that will be up on this video so you can see those different techniques. I can't go and try to show you guys everything because this video would be monster long. I mean, just with this portion of it up to here, with just the weathering portion and doing all the moss and the grass and all this type of stuff, I have roughly probably close to 16 hours, maybe even 20 hours into it. No, about 16 hours. And yeah, it would just take this video just that much further to try to do it. So what I'm gonna do now is I've got to get this mounted up in the new location. Now the new location is going to be a little bit tricky because it's actually going, well, let's see here. You guys get to see how trash this track is right now. But it is going right over there. So where the old tunnel is at, it is going up on top, which is going to make this a little bit of a trick because there's a tunnel. And I've got wires that I have to route down and make it to the bottom of the layout. So that's going to be an adventure by itself. But yep, it's going to sit right up there on top of the tunnel, and should be a good resting place for it. So there it is. We come back. I'll have it mounted up, and then yeah, we got just some last little details to do. I've got to wire it in, and this video will be complete. All right, so there it is. I finally got it up mounted. I have the lights all lit up, and yeah, turned out pretty cool. Go ahead and zoom it in. The unfortunate part of this side is that it's all the way, I'll show you. It's all the way, come on, zoom out, across the layout here. So it's kind of hard to get close to it on this side. You can see where it would be kind of a pain to try to get any intricate stuff done there. Now I can, because I built the table in such a way where I can actually climb up there and do this, but there it is on the front side. And yeah, it looks pretty cool. It's all kind of lit up and looks like it's just an old abandoned structure up on the hill. So there's the front. Now let's go around and I'll show you guys the back side of it. Okay, so here's the back side, and looks, I mean, it's really turned out cool. I went ahead and added some ivy down on this corner over here. And there's some seafoam trees that are in here, and some lichen as far as the moss. And, you know, there's some sedum style trees and plants. And yeah, I mean, it just really looks cool. Once you get everything just kind of in there and, you know, all dialed up with it, it's amazing how you can make one of these kits really come alive. So there's that. There's the back side of those lamps. And I decided not to go with the light pole on the back side. And the main reason was, well, I'll show you. So here is the tunnel, and it's sitting right on top of it. And the plan is I was thinking about putting the light pole maybe in here or over here on the side. Well, it was tricky to try to run the wires on this. I had a 2-foot drill bit, and I was having to take my cordless drill and drill at a real slight angle so I could miss the inside of the tunnel and make a path for the wires to run down, which came all the way down through here and are right behind that sign area right over in there. And I was able to put some bushes and stuff over the top to hide those, and then it goes underneath the layout. But I was thinking maybe right here would be a really cool spot for, you know, for that light pole. Trying to run the wire was going to be a real trick, and I started looking at it after I actually had the structure in there, and it was like, this may not go very well. So I opted not to go ahead and put that light pole back here. But even without it, it's still, I mean, it still looks cool. So there we go. It's mounted. It's, well, you know, actually it's planted. There's enough vegetation on this. I think we can say it's planted, not mounted. So, but there we go. It's on there, and it's part of deception. I thought it'd be kind of cool up in this area anyway, because this is the old part of deception. There's the upper table. There's the mountain over on the other side, and the hill right here, and there's the waterfall area with the car wreck. And I just thought that this would be kind of a cool thing to put up in this area. So there we go. And I think the last thing we need to do is go ahead and do a little flyby on this, and then let's wrap up this video. right, so it's a wrap. Another video done. And this video took a while to do. and it's not so much that it took so long to do because of the amount of work that was put into the leaderboard, but I also had to deal with something called Texas heat. Yes, down here in Texas in the summertime, it can get a little hot. And in the garage here, I haven't installed any AC down in the lower. So when I'm having temps of 105, 110 outside, and I get into the garage, it's not much cooler in here than it is out there. So there are some times when I went to go ahead and tried to film, and as soon as I sat down, I just started pouring with sweat. And I have a fan that blows on me, but unfortunately, when I'm filming, I have to turn the fan off so it doesn't give any background noise. So yeah, that's something that I definitely need to fix in the future. And I'm working on it as far as getting a window unit in here to make it a little bit more manageable when it comes to heat. So there we go. That's one of the reasons. And I apologize for that, guys. I'm in the process of trying to get that fixed. But let's get back to the build at hand. So kind of cool, right? I mean, to take a kit and to go ahead and do what I was able to do to it is pretty cool. But my hat's off to Racetrack Scenics, these guys right here, because if they weren't able to create such a nice kit, it would be hard to do this type of modeling with it. I mean, you can, yes, but it makes it a lot easier if the kit itself is a nice kit, and they do a great job of building kits. And in fact, I got word from Kevin, and they've updated as far as material that they're using and everything else. So he's constantly trying to strive forward and improve on something that's already right up there as far as top tier goes. So yes, my hat is off to Kevin and Jonah for doing what they do. It's awesome, and they bring so much more to our hobby because of some of the stuff that they're able to produce. So with all that, yes, that was a fun build. Took a while to do. The weathering, like I said in the clip, just putting on the moss and the ivy and all that type of stuff, I had a lot of hours into it. And it's something that when you get into that, the biggest thing, and I hear guys going, well, Boone, you do such a remarkable job, and I just don't have the skills to do what you do. You know what? No, you do have the skills to do it. The biggest thing is that you don't get in a rush. Take your time, enjoy the process. And as you go through it and as you add more stuff to it and taking your time, you'd be amazed at what you're able to create. It's just kind of backing off a little bit. Remember, the racetrack is for the racing. The scenery is for the enjoyment. Get into the scenery, take your time with the scenery, and you'll be amazed at what you're able to create. So the first one that we did, which I still haven't sent this off to Kevin, I've been waiting to get done with this video so that I can have it here and stuff like that because of the filming process. But here it is. Here is the first one that I did. And it is really cool. It's clean. It looks good. Now, there's the other one right there. And there's quite a difference. And if we look at the backside is where it really starts to come around. I mean, there's that. Looks really clean. That one up there looks, it's seen better days, right? but really cool. I wanted to show you guys what you could do with one of their kits as far as taking it this far and taking it that far. Now, there was an idea that I had as far as putting a light pole in the back, and like I said, trying to route the wires and stuff like that. Once I got it in there, it was kind of like, I just didn't want to chance it. Just, I was already kind of threading the needle trying to get the wires that were on that that structure wired in, and yeah, it was, yeah, I was crossing my fingers and I danced a jig a few times, but I was able to pull it off. So there we go. So if you like this video, like it, share it with others, and please subscribe to my channel. And also, we have that, which is the Facebook group, that, which is the Instagram group, this, which is the Buy Me a Coffee app, and that one right there, which is the Patreon group. And the Patreon group is really cool. We have a lot of fun, and we're doing Zoom meetings all the time and stuff like that. And I decided, you know what? I'm going to show you guys some of the stuff that we've done on Zoom meetings. And yeah, there's Zoom meetings where we just go ahead and we BS and we talk about slots and we talk about upcoming projects. And if the guys have any questions, they can ask me and I can help them out and stuff like that. That's one part. There's also another part to the Zoom meetings where we actually start building projects. Yes, we do projects on the Zoom meetings, which is really fun. I mean, we built trees together. We did this light pole, which is really cool. We've actually done the little garbage cans, right? And gone through together and built these garbage cans. And the one that we're working on right now, which is really cool, we're almost done with it, was, well, on the back of the t-shirt right there, there's a Dunlop bridge, right? Well, the Dunlop bridge was built before I started the YouTube channel. So it never got filmed. I never explained on how I did it. Well, with the Zoom meeting, we're building the Dunlop bridge. So this little guy right here is the project that we're building now. Now, this is the one that was on my layout, but here is the new one. Yes. So we're going through this step by step, and it's taken a few videos to do, but it's really fun. I mean, we're building together. There's times in the Zoom meeting where it gets really quiet because everybody's building and concentrating, but it's fun. It's a bunch of guys getting together and just doing the hobby, right? So if that's something that interests you, come on over, check out the Patreon group. And there's different levels in there, and each level, even the entry level, can take part in the Zoom meetings itself. So don't think you have to get into the top tiers in order to partake. No, the bottom level has access to the Zoom and everything else. So come over, check that all out, and join the garage, right? Because we're having a good time. Now, all of that saying this right here, and what this is Conquest Lair, and Conquest Lair has the Boone slot car apparel. So we have this t-shirt right here, the Let's Do It t-shirt, and I've talked to Raul, and we're putting together a few more t-shirts that are going to be released here pretty soon. That, and also doing some coffee mugs. So there's all that going on as well. And there's the link for it. Go over there, check it out. Not only is my stuff on there, but they have Area 51. They got MP slot car space. Obviously, Raul's, Conquest Racing Club on there, and Marty Ford as far as 2 lanes. Yeah, it's kind of cool. And there's other guys in there, and they keep on adding and everything else. So it's kind of cool. It's this whole entire hub of a bunch of different guys that are on YouTube and stuff like that are in the hobby, that you can go over to this website and check out merchandise and everything else and get yourself a t-shirt, right? So, there we go. I've blabbed for quite a while. So, next time on Boone Slot Car Garage, well, I'm thinking. There's a couple things I have to do. There's some things that Kevin has sent me that I haven't really got into yet. So there might be something there, but I think we need to get back to some more scenery and that type of stuff. And I've got a whole lot of scenery yet to do. So I'll dream up something. But until then, I'll see you guys later. Hi, this is Boone Slot Car Garage. Let's do this.